How are we doing? Today we're going to go over the chop saw, or this is a sliding compound miter. Wow, because it does a lot of other things. This is the circular saw family, similar to the radial arm saw or the table saw. It's got a round blade. When making adjustments and going over any machine, always unplug it. So what we have right here is the saw can come out. This is a release. We push down just slightly, pull this pin out. The blade will come up and you can turn that. Okay, now let me just show you that again. So when I go down, when we leave a machine, we always put it in a lock position. So I'm going to push down slightly on this, that relieves some pressure, and pull the pin out, turn it. Back in place. This is the circular saw. It's spinning this way. Just like the radial arm saw, it's down and in. Okay, we really don't stand the board up. It's down and in. And you see this circle right here? This is the no-no zone. So I can lift this up and I can do different angles. My hand is never in here. I can be way over here cutting at 50 degrees. My hand is outside, all right? From here out. So if I'm cutting that, my hand is over here. So pull up on this pin and come down. So if we look over here, just like a lot of the machines, I have a gauge right there. I am now at 55 degrees and I lock it in place. So sliding compound miter. Back to zero. Sliding. Here it is sliding. Miter. This is your miter. So I am mitering, I am cutting at 25 degrees. Compound. We can take this and tilt it. So this pin needs to come out. Now, a lot of times this is on a stand, and we don't do this a lot, so this is a little harder. So what we want to do is loosen this up. Pull our pin out, and then what we can do is tilt it. So if I want 16, 17 degrees, what I would then do is go back and then I would lock it in place. And then if I wanted to, so on this I would have to then adjust our fence so we're not going to cut it. And if I needed to, I could actually cut at two angles at once, similar to what we did on the bandsaw or similar on the table saw. You can do these on the sliding compound miter, but it's much easier on the table saw. So I really wouldn't be doing this here. Most of the work you're doing in here is rough cutting, squaring a board up. It's just an added machine before you go over to the table saw. The table saw is the machine that we use mostly. So we're going to go back to zero, and then what we're going to do is loosen this back up and bring it back into place. See if she comes back to zero. Lock our pin in, and then tighten her up. Sometimes the saw won't come out, and what that is overlocked. I can't pull it out, and that's just a chop saw. A lot of chop saws, you know, they're not sliding. So now I loosen this. This is a sliding, all right? And what you want to do is you're not going down and coming this way. What I want to do is come out, go down on my board, and go back. I am not pulling it towards me. The radial arm saw has a cable that helps pull it back, so this is different from that. The fences, you know, a lot of them have increments for measuring. I wouldn't do that. I measure on my own. I want to make sure it's right. But here, the fence can come out depending on what you're doing. I might be cutting stock that's really, really thick. So here, I might be doing stock up like this. This machine is really good with 4x4s, 4x6s. This is used in the construction industry. So depending on how thick the wood, I want to make sure that I have support for it so it doesn't pull it back. So what I want to do is, depending on what you're doing, I want it as close to the blade as I can. I want as much support. But when we're tilting it, or if I'm at an angle, then what I'm going to do is come into it, so I want to pull it back a little bit. So these adjust. The other thing that we have here is this can come around, and this will help also lock a piece of wood in place. We don't use it a lot, but it's a nice thing to have. Again, it's like having a third hand. So it's just a support. Keep it in the back here. So you make all your adjustments, then I can plug her back in. What you have on the chop saw is you have a release, safety release here. I need to push this in with my thumb, and then I can go on. If you notice, when I go on, it moves a little bit. It's a little, the power of the motor going on. Again, make sure your ventilation system is on. We're on anti-skid material. We have tight, snug clothes, not baggy. Long hair, if you have it, tie it back. No loose jewelry. All right, if you have it, tuck it in. Eye safety and ear protections. And then what we are is ready to go. So we have a board. And all right, if I'm coming in here, this is as far as I can hold it. I do not want to have my hand in here. This board's a little short. I have to go use another machine. So here I have a board. I'm going over here. Place it down on the table against the fence. And a lot of times this is for rough cutting. I am just getting it down. So I'm going to do it with my Sharpie. Never use the Sharpie in class, only during my demonstration, so you get to see it. So there's my line. So what I want to do is, again, a wide stance, so I'm balanced. I am going to bring it down, touch it. So what I do is I can adjust it, I touch it. I know I'm right on the line. Hold it, lift up. Never turn the machine on while it's in contact with the wood on any machine. Hands out. So what I'm going to do is turn it on, go down, and go back. Come up. Always have the guard in place. The nice thing about the guard is you're going to notice that the guard moves on its own. Never have your hands in here, and we never rip with this. It is for cross-cutting. So a lot of times what we're doing, all right, is this is another good machine for rough cutting. So what I'm going to do is I have a long board. So I go on. That's why we have this big table. I could be down here. I'm not going to cut this up. What we're going to do is cut it. I'll just cut a little bit off. All right. So remember, when rough cutting, you should make it about 1 inch bigger. So here's a longer board. All right. Let's get a line on this so we can have some fun here. So there's my mark. I don't need it all the way back. What I'm doing is I'm going to line it up, touch it. That's where I'm cutting. Now remember, I want this board, I'm on that side of the line. If I go to this side of the line, so actually I'm looking this way on it. Some people come over here. Now this board's going to be shorter. So I want to know, is this the piece I want or that the piece I want? So I'm on my line, all right? Get it up, turn it on, down, and back. Nice and slow. Take our scraps, throw them out. Now, the sliding compound miter can also do joints. Again, I would do this with the radial arm saw, or I would do it with a table saw. But if you have this saw at home, it's a great one. What you actually can do is set this so it doesn't go down all the way. So what we want to do is come over here. Let's take a look over here. And if I'm coming all the way through, all right, this doesn't hit. But what I can do is push this in Pull these back. Push this in, and then this will slide down. So now what will happen is I'll stop there, and if you notice, I'm not cutting all the way through the wood. If you go and you're just like, oh, it's not cutting all the way through, what it is somebody has brought that down. When you make any adjustments to the machine, you should always put it back to where it started. So we're going to go down here. I'm just going to show you this. It's not really a common thing to do, but what I can do is so I'm going to go over again. I can pop these pieces out. I'm just doing this relatively quick. Who can remember, rule of thumb, how far you go into wood? Never more than half. So if I look at that, all right, I've gone a little too far. What that does is weaken it. Now this machine here, you can notice, this is a plywood. It's a laminated plywood. I can cut laminated ply with this. I can cut laminated ply with the radial arm saw. What machines you can't do with the joiner and the planer, that's got to be solid wood. So you need to remember what machines you can use, MDF, particle board, laminated plies, veneers, or solid wood. And when we are done, drop it down, lock it in place, tighten it. I look forward to seeing you in class.